You're 6 or 8 months into your assignment and you don't feel successful, but you don't exactly know why. We may have some answers for you coming up. So I've told this story several times and it bears repeating. About 6 months into my assignment, I was asked to go out to dinner with my boss, who was the president of our local organization where I've been transferred to in Japan. He said, I want to talk to you about how things are going. So we go out, we have a couple of beers, we have some small talk, and then he lays the question on me, how do you think things are going? And I said, I think they're going fantastic. I said, we're moving these pieces around, we're making this happen, we're putting these things here, we're making this happen like this. And I stare at him, and my confidence did not equal what was going on in his face. He had kind of a blank look on his face. It was not probably going to be a great conversation. His next thought was really chilling to me, and he said, I think I need to tell you how I think it's going. And I said, mm-hmm. And that's when he told me that he felt like that the entire 6 months had been spent on trying to plug American solutions into Japanese problems, which never ever works. He expressed that he felt like my team was alienated, that he felt like I was not communicating directly with them and not communicating in a way that they were happy about. And also, I was not making nearly the progress that I thought I was making. So this was chilling to me to hear. But then came the most horrifying part for me is he said, that's all not so good, but it's correctable. He said, the piece that I'm more worried about is that you're unaware of this is going on. So my thoughts came back to, I'm going to have to go home. I'm going to have to tell my wife to pack up her things and get my kid out of school. And we're going to be moving back home quite early. Well, the good news is we not only stayed to the end of our 2-year assignment, but we stayed until the end of 11 years. So we were able to turn it around. And there are 3 ways that we turned it around. And all 3 of these have been verified by our over 3 dozen interviews with expat executives all across the world. We do long form interviews to try to find out that red string that kind of ties all the stories together. So 3 things that are probably happening if you don't feel successful right away. Number 1, you're simply unaware of the ecosystem around you. You deliver messages to people, you deliver messages in your meetings, you're talking and collaborating with people, but it's in a way that you're used to. And the ecosystem around you is quite different. Maybe they don't take information the same way. Maybe there's a hierarchy problem. Maybe there's a message delivery problem, a message receipt problem, a trust problem, but you're simply unaware of that because you're doing things the way that you've done them in your past. And maybe you've been tremendously successful, but the ecosystem around you has changed dramatically and you haven't quite tweaked it into that. The second thing that could be happening is that you're more isolated than ever before. This is critical. Lots of decisions in the Western world are made walking down the hallway, at the coffee station, somewhere just standing around looking out the window, and somebody walks up and you start talking about a project. When you have a language barrier and, more importantly, a business culture barrier, sometimes those conversations just go out the window and you never have them. So the isolation sets in. The other thing that happens a lot of times is that conversations happen in a foreign language and you're asked to wait. Give us 5 minutes here so we can talk about it in our native language. And then they try to bring you back into the conversation. And it never works because you don't know the nuance and you don't know the process that folks went through. And so therefore you either A, trust whatever's going on, or B, you start questioning, which decreases the level of trust. So isolation due to business culture, due to issues around you and language barriers is a huge issue. The third thing that probably is impacting you, according to all of our studies, is that the reality that you imagined and the reality that you prepared for is much more complex than you really thought. Many times companies will put people through lightweight courses and a little bit of language and a little bit of the bare bones minimum of business culture and general culture that will teach you a few helpful things. But the reality is the nuance, the situation is like an onion. It just needs to be completely peeled layer by layer by layer until you finally figure out how to work in that particular business culture. It took me 3 years to kind of understand. It took me another couple of years to feel like I was kind of a pro at it. And it took me all the way through 11 years to figure out that what I thought I knew, I still didn't know probably 60% of what I needed to know. to be successful. However, the fourth thing and the most important thing that I did, and the most important thing that almost everyone on our Expat Advisory Board did, is to get help, is to reach out to a professional who has done this before, to surround yourself with people who have experience that you may not have, and to also be available for conversations with them, because when you help other people solve their problems, it could be a problem that you're having at the time too. So that's the four things: simply unaware of the ecosystem around you, not knowing. Isolation, a huge problem with expat executives. The miscalculation of how difficult and how complex the situation was going to be, and trying to do it all yourself. So we at Cranberry are here to help you. Give us a call or reach out to us anyway.